Well, let's get more now from our security and defence analyst, Professor Michael Clarke. So let's just start then with the two men, Xi Jinping and, of course, Vladimir Putin. Just tell us a little bit more about the relationship between them.
Yeah, at a personal level, it's very good. They obviously like each other. They've met each other many times, about 40-odd times, since they've both been in power. I mean, Putin's been in power twice as long as Xi Jinping. I mean, he came to power in 1999, Xi Jinping in 2012. But the relationship is reversed between them. Although they get on well, Putin was the hard man, and nobody quite knew what Xi Jinping stood for when he took over from Hu Jintao in 2012. He removed him. Nobody quite knew what he would be like. And over the years, Xi Jinping's China has got stronger. Russia has got, in a sense, weaker, more aggressive, but weaker. And now, I mean, Putin is now the weaker of the two, for sure. And in a sense, Xi Jinping is now looking after his client, and his client's got himself in a terrible mess in this crazy invasion of Ukraine, which is not going very well. So it's straining, I think, their personal relationship, because pragmatically, China has got a lot to lose from this conflict, as well as a few things to gain.
Now, given their relationship, how far will China go in supplying arms to Russia? But also, what can we make of China's proposal for peace in Ukraine?
Yeah, on arms, I don't think the Chinese will make a big play to supply Russia with arms, because the cost of doing that would be very great in terms of American sanctions. But they already are supplying some arms. They're helping North Korean ammunition get there. It's said that about 240,000 artillery rounds were sent not long ago. They're sending dual-use technology, components that can be civilian or military. So there's a trickle of stuff which the Americans are now chasing to try and sanction the companies that are doing it. I don't think that will get much greater, but it will keep on going. I think they'll keep Russia going, certainly with precision munitions or precision components for their weapons. On the peace plan, Xi Jinping wants to be seen as a peacemaker. Now, he presented this 12-point peace plan a couple of weeks ago. Of those 12 points, 5 of them were actually OK. From the West's point of view, from Ukraine's point of view, they would agree to them, I'm sure. 7 points are not, because what the peace plan really says is everything should stay as it is in place, which means Russia gets to keep everything it's conquered. And if the peace plan is accepted in 6 months' time and Russia's conquered more in 6 months' time, it gets to keep that as well. So that's no sort of peace plan that will ever be accepted. But it's there, it's on the table, and Xi Jinping hopes that at some point in the future, not now, but maybe in 6 months or a year's time, people will come back to it and say, can you help? Can you do something? And then he will stand forward as the man who has had a peace plan and can actually lean on Putin to stop the fighting. That's the way he'd like to present himself.
The man who basically solved the war, then he'd like to position himself. So Putin then made that surprise visit, didn't he, over the weekend? We saw some of those videos of him driving around Mariupol. Yeah. How has that been then seen in Ukraine, but not just in Ukraine, but also in Russia?
Yeah, in Russia it's seen very positively. I mean, this is Putin visiting the front line. He went to Sevastopol, first of all, in Crimea. Then he went to Mariupol. Yeah. Then he went to Rostov-on-Don in Russia to talk to military leaders, that's inside Russia, about the whole thing. And so that goes down well in Russia. And, of course, it's a way of insulting the International Criminal Court, which, looks at Mariupol. I mean, of these children who have been abducted, a lot of them have been abducted from Mariupol. So, in a way, going there was even more sensitive. And Mariupol, of course, was reduced. I mean, it was a city of 400,000 people, 350,000 left. 22,000 have been killed. 90% of the buildings have been destroyed or badly damaged. I mean, Mariupol is a shell, and he's going around it as if somehow it's a sort of a new build Milton Keynes. Well, it isn't.
It certainly isn't. It certainly isn't.